Welcome to our deep dive. Today we're looking at something that feels a bit backwards, really. The idea that to actually achieve more, sometimes you have to do less.
Exactly.
We've got a whole stack of sources here about Steve Jobs, his whole philosophy of focus and simplicity, and, how that turned Apple around from near collapse.
Yeah, and what's really fascinating, I think, is how Jobs used subtraction. It wasn't passive, like giving up. It was almost an aggressive strategy.
The weapon, yeah.
Right. So
Yeah.
we'll dig into the core ideas, look at that big 1997 turnaround Apple had, and figure out how you can maybe use these principles yourself.
Okay, get ready for some maybe some aha moments, like why saying no could actually be your best move strategically. All right, so this Jobsian philosophy, when he talked about simplicity, what was really going on there? Was it just like clean design,
Yeah.
minimalism?
Oh, it was way deeper than that. He famously said, simple can be harder than complex. And also that you have to work hard to get your thinking clean to make it simple. So it's not about making things look simple on the surface. It's about the creator taking on all the complexity, really wrestling with it, so that the user gets what he called deep simplicity, where things just work. Remember that old Apple brochure from '77?
Vaguely. What did it say?
Simplicity is the ultimate sophistication. That kind of sums it up.
Okay, that clicks. So if simplicity is the goal, how do you get there? He talked about focus, right? Saying
Exactly. That was key. He said, focusing is about saying no.
no.
And he knew it was tough.
I bet.
He said, you've got to say no, no, no. And famously, innovation is saying no to 1,000 things.
1,000 things.
Yeah. It's about protecting your energy, your resources.
Right.
And channeling them only into what's truly, great. Everything else, got to let it go.
It sounds ruthless, but you can see the power in it. And his influences were interesting too, weren't they? Like Zen Buddhism.
Right. That emphasis on essence, stripping away the unnecessary.
And Bauhaus design, form follows function.
Dieter Rams, less is better, all that.
Yeah.
And even Atari, surprisingly.
Atari, how so?
Well, learning that products had to be intuitive, like no manual needed, it all fed into this worldview, not just, a business tactic.
Gotcha. So it all comes together in 97. Apple's basically falling apart.
Oh, totally. Jobs himself said they were like 90 days from being insolvent. Market share was below 3%.
Wow.
And the company was just drowning in products.
Yeah.
Get this, one source mentioned 64 different models of the Macintosh Performa alone.
64? That's insane. Just pure chaos.
Pretty much. An incoherent agenda, as one analysis put it.
So how did he cut through that? What was the big move?
The whiteboard moment.
Yeah.
It's legendary, right? He walks up, draws a simple 2x2 grid.
The 4 quadrants.
Yep. Consumer, pro, desktop, portable. That's it. And based on that simple grid, they just started cutting.
How much got cut?
Estimates are around 70% of the product line. Things like the Newton message pad, remember that?
Oh, yeah, the Newton. Gone.
Gone. Printer's gone. It was brutal, but it cleared the decks. It let them actually redefine Apple, launch, think different.
70%. I mean, imagine the internal reaction. But the results must have followed pretty fast.
Unbelievably fast. The ripple effect was huge. Engineering got simpler, obviously. Inventory slashed by 80%.
80?
Yeah. The streamlined distribution, cut ties with most national retailers, focused their marketing, and the bottom line, a year later, they posted a $309 million profit.
From 90 days to insolvent to 300 million profit. That's the case study right there.
It's a masterclass, yeah. Strategic subtraction.
Okay, so for you listening, how do you take this playbook and actually use it, this strategic focus thing?
Well, think about that Jobs retreat story. Of the top 100 people, he gets 10 ideas, forces them down to just the top 3.
Right.
You can kind of do that yourself. List everything you're working on, all the initiatives, force rank them, what really moves the needle, then be ruthless. Cut down to your top. Say 1 to 3 things, what's truly essential.
That takes discipline, which leads to saying no, right?
Yeah.
How do you do that professionally?
Yeah, that's tricky. Maybe lead with something positive, but then clearly tie the no back to your strategy. It's not you saying no, it's the strategy.
The strategy says no. I like that.
Yeah, and maybe offer alternatives, if it makes sense.
And this subtraction applies to the product itself, too, not just the product line. Designing from the customer back.
Totally. Define that ideal experience first. Boil it down to a super simple value proposition like the iPod, 1,000 songs in your pocket.
Simple, powerful.
Right. And then subtract everything else that doesn't serve that core idea. Fight that feature creep.
Okay, and what about like day-to-day execution, teams?
Well, think about designing your workday for focus. Time blocking, maybe
Yeah.
task batching. Some people use day theming, protect that deep work time.
Mm-hmm.
And organizationally, Apple used the directly responsible individual, or DRI model. One person owns the outcome. No confusion.
Clear accountability.
Exactly. And keep teams small, focused.
Yeah.
Jobs like that rock tumbler analogy, small teams, intense focus, polishing ideas.
It sounds incredibly effective, but it can't be perfect, right? Jobs was very vision-led. People don't know what they want. How does that fit with, say, lean startup ideas, customer feedback?
That's a great point.
Yeah.
They aren't necessarily opposed, I think. Jobs excelled at that 0 to 1 innovation, creating whole new things.
Right.
But for one ton in, making existing things better, that's where customer feedback is crucial. So you can kind of synthesize them. Bold vision, yeah, but refine it with feedback loops.
Okay, that makes sense. And the downsides, the human cost of that intense focus.
Yeah, you have to acknowledge that. The famous reality distortion field. Push people, sure, but it could also mean abrasive management.
Yeah, stories abound.
Right. And things like corporate philanthropy got cut too under that intense focus. It's a powerful tool, focuses, but you got to wield it consciously. Think about the wider impact.
So wrapping this up, what's the big takeaway for you? It seems like building something great isn't just about adding more stuff.
Not at all.
Yeah.
It's really about curating, deciding what not to do. That's often the hardest, but maybe the most valuable work, right?
Having the conviction to leave things out.
Exactly. Channeling all that energy into just a few really important things.
So here's a question for you to think about. What good things might you be doing right now that are actually distracting you from the truly great things?
Yeah. Because the lesson here, I think, is pretty enduring. You want to move mountains, you need that courage to say no. And you need that relentless drive for simplicity.